Breaking news. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has warned it could shut down all other export corridors that benefit the US and its allies, according to Iranian state media, after Tehran closed the Strait of Hormuz and Washington reimposed a naval blockade on Iranian ports. In a statement carried by Iran's IRNA news agency on Wednesday, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said regional energy exports would either be shared by all or denied to all. Analysts say Iran has been signaling it could use its Houthi allies in Yemen to shut the Bab el-Mandeb gateway to the Red Sea, a move that would open a new front against Washington and put two of the world's most critical energy shipping routes at risk simultaneously. The Bab el-Mandeb links the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden and is a key passage for Saudi oil exports and a significant share of global shipping traffic. A senior Houthi official said on Monday that the group is prepared to close the Bab el-Mandeb Strait if Saudi Arabia continues military action in Yemen, warning the move could push oil prices as high as $200 a barrel, according to a report on Iran's press TV. Houthi forces fired missiles at Saudi Arabia after accusing the kingdom of bombing an airport under Houthi control on Monday, effectively ending a 4-year truce between the two sides. The group has previously demonstrated its ability to disrupt global shipping through the Bab el-Mandeb. After the Gaza war began in October 2023, Houthi forces launched a sustained campaign against commercial vessels in the Red Sea, saying they were targeting ships linked to Israel. The latest threat comes a day after the US military said it had launched a fresh round of strikes intended to continue degrading Iranian capabilities used to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. US officials said Iran had attacked 7 commercial ships over the previous week, with nearly a dozen crew members killed, missing, or injured as a result. The US military said late Tuesday it had struck dozens of military targets near the Strait of Hormuz and along Iran's coastline, in a wave of strikes that lasted 7 hours, according to US Central Command. The end of America's evils. The URG said on Wednesday that the Strait of Hormuz would remain closed until what it described as the end of America's evils. Before the war began in February, roughly a fifth of global oil and gas shipments passed through the strait each day. The Guard said they had targeted command and control, logistics, fuel and military equipment facilities belonging to the US Fifth Fleet in Bahrain in response to the latest American strikes. Iran also said it had set fire to and destroyed a US logistics facility at Mina Abdullah in Kuwait, and that its air force had struck a US base at Azraq in Jordan, targeting aircraft hangars. Tehran claimed some of the US strikes had originated from bases on Jordanian soil. Kuwait state news agency reported earlier Wednesday that a fire had been brought under control at a site targeted in the Iranian attacks, though it was not immediately clear whether this was the same facility referenced in the URG's statement. Jordan's air defenses intercepted and shot down 3 ballistic missiles that entered the country's airspace from Iranian territory early Wednesday. The renewed hostilities between Iran and the United States erupted last week, fraying an already fragile truce reached in June following months of fighting that has killed thousands. Trump threatens energy infrastructure. US President Donald Trump said on Tuesday he would strike Iranian power plants and bridges next week unless Tehran returns to the negotiating table. "I'll save the energy targets for last, but ultimately we'll hit energy targets," Trump told Fox News' Trey Yingst. He added that US negotiators had been in contact with their Iranian counterparts, warning them that you better make a deal. Trump had floated a 20% fee on shipping passing through the Strait of Hormuz on Monday, a proposal that drew sharp criticism from the United Nations Shipping Agency and other international bodies. He dropped the idea on Tuesday, saying without elaborating that he would instead pursue investment agreements with Gulf states. Prices climbed again on Wednesday after closing up 2% on Tuesday to a 1-month high, as the escalating attacks deepened supply disruptions through the strait. Both Brent crude and West Texas Intermediate closed at their highest levels since mid-June for a second consecutive session, and both benchmarks rose further in early Wednesday trading. Iran just threatened to shut down every export route that benefits the United States, not just the Strait of Hormuz, but potentially the Red Sea too. As US strikes intensify and oil prices surge, 2 of the world's most vital shipping lanes now hang in the balance. Here's what's really happening. A war that many hoped had cooled down after truce in June is now flaring back up, and this time, it's threatening to spread far beyond the Persian Gulf. Iran's Revolutionary Guard has issued a stark warning. If its own energy exports remain blocked, it will work to make sure no one else's flow freely either. That threat, combined with new signals from Iran's Houthi allies in Yemen, means the world could soon be looking at not 1, but 2 major shipping choke points under threat at the same time. We're going to walk through exactly what's confirmed, what's still developing, and why oil markets are already reacting. On Wednesday, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said it may close all other export corridors that benefit the US and its allies, according to a statement carried by Iran's state-run IRNA news agency. The Guard's message was blunt: regional energy exports would either be shared by everyone or denied to everyone. This warning follows two major developments. First, Iran shut the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway between Iran and Oman that normally carries roughly a fifth of the world's daily oil and gas shipments. Second, the United States reimposed a naval blockade on Iranian ports, escalating a conflict that had been simmering since a truce was reached in June. But the Strait of Hormuz may not be the only choke point at risk. Analysts say Iran appears to be signaling that it could activate its Houthi allies in Yemen to close the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, a circumflex Euros, the narrow gateway connecting the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden. This route carries a substantial share of global shipping traffic and is critical to Saudi Arabia's oil exports. A senior Houthi official said on Monday that the group is ready to shut the strait if Saudi Arabia continues its military campaign in Yemen, warning that such a move could send oil prices soaring as high as $200 a barrel. That warning came shortly after Houthi forces fired missiles into Saudi Arabia, accusing the kingdom of bombing an airport under Houthi control, a circumflex Euros, an attack that effectively broke a 4-year truce between the two sides. It's worth noting this isn't a hypothetical threat. The Houthis have already proven they can disrupt global shipping through this route. After the Gaza war began in October 2023, the group launched a sustained campaign against commercial vessels in the Red Sea, saying it was targeting ships connected to Israel. Meanwhile, in the Gulf, the military exchanges between Iran and the US have escalated sharply. The US military said it launched a new round of strikes aimed at degrading Iran's ability to attack commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. According to US officials, Iran had attacked 7 commercial vessels over the preceding week, resulting in nearly a dozen crew members killed, missing, or injured. To understand why this matters so much, it helps to step back and look at what these waterways actually mean for the global economy. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important choke points in the entire global energy system. Before this conflict began in February, roughly 1/5 of the world's daily oil and gas shipments passed through it. Any disruption there tends to ripple almost instantly through global fuel prices, because there's no easy alternative route for that volume of tanker traffic. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait plays a similar, though somewhat smaller, role. It's the gateway between the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, and a major share of Saudi oil exports, along with a significant portion of global shipping more broadly, depends on its staying open. If both choke points were disrupted simultaneously, the impact on global energy markets and shipping costs could be substantially larger than either disruption on its own, since alternative routes around Africa add significant time and cost to shipments. This current escalation traces back to a fragile truce reached in June, after months of fighting between Iran and the United States that had already killed thousands of people. That truce began fraying again last week as hostilities reignited, and it now appears to be unraveling further with each new round of strikes. Late Tuesday, the US military said it had struck dozens of military targets near the Strait of Hormuz and along Iran's coastline, in a bombing campaign that US Central Command said lasted 7 hours. Iran responded with its own claims of retaliation. The IRGC said it had targeted command and control facilities, logistics hubs, fuel depots, and military equipment belonging to the US Fifth Fleet in Bahrain. Tehran also claimed it had set fire to and destroyed a US logistics facility at Mina Abdullah in Kuwait, and that its air force had struck a US base at Azraq in Jordan, specifically targeting aircraft hangars. Iranian officials further alleged that some US strikes had been launched from bases located on Jordanian territory. Independent confirmation of some of these claims remains limited. Kuwait's state news agency reported that a fire had been brought under control at a site that was targeted in the Iranian attacks, though it was not immediately clear whether this was the same location referenced in Iran's own statement. In Jordan, air defense systems intercepted and shot down 3 ballistic missiles that entered the country's airspace from Iranian territory early Wednesday, a detail confirmed by Jordanian authorities. On the diplomatic and economic front, President Trump said Tuesday that the US would strike Iranian power plants and bridges next week unless Tehran returns to negotiations, telling Fox News that energy infrastructure targets would be saved for last, but ultimately would be hit. He said US negotiators had been in contact with Iranian counterparts, delivering the message that Tehran needs to reach a deal. Trump had also floated a controversial plan on Monday to impose a 20% fee on all shipping passing through the Strait of Hormuz, a move that drew immediate criticism from the United Nations Shipping Agency and other international bodies over concerns it could violate long-standing principles of freedom of navigation. By Tuesday, Trump had dropped the proposal, saying instead that he would pursue investment agreements with Gulf states, though he did not provide further details. Markets have responded predictably to the uncertainty. Oil prices rose again Wednesday, building on a 2% gain Tuesday that pushed prices to a one-month high. Both major oil benchmarks, Brent crude and West Texas Intermediate, closed at their highest levels since mid-June for a second straight session, with both continuing to climb in early Wednesday trading. It's important to separate what has been independently confirmed from what remains a claim by one side or the other. Confirmed through multiple official statements, Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz, the US has reimposed a naval blockade and carried out strikes near Hormuz and along Iran's coast, Jordan intercepted missiles entering its airspace, and oil prices have risen amid the disruption. Trump's public statements about energy fee proposals, threatened strikes on infrastructure, and ongoing contact with Iranian negotiators are also on the record. Less independently verified, the full extent of Iran's claimed strikes on US facilities in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan rely primarily on statements from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps itself, and Kuwaiti authorities have not confirmed whether the fire at their reported site matches Iran's specific claims. Similarly, the Houthi threat to close the Bab el-Mandeb remains, for now, a warning rather than a confirmed action, though the group's history in the Red Sea since 2023 gives that warning real weight rather than making it purely rhetorical. Both sides also have clear incentives shaping how they present events. Iran's framing a circumflex euros, invoking the end of America's evils, signals defiance intended for both domestic and regional audiences. The Trump administration's framing, casting the US as the Strait's guardian while proposing shipping fees, reflects an attempt to combine military pressure with an economic rationale, though the fee proposal's swift reversal after international pushback suggests it faced real diplomatic resistance. Several developments are worth watching closely in the days ahead. If the Houthis do move to close the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, global shipping could face disruption across two major choke points simultaneously, forcing many vessels onto far longer routes around the southern tip of Africa, a shift that would likely push fuel prices and shipping costs higher worldwide, not just in the region. Trump's threat to strike Iranian energy infrastructure next week, including power plants and bridges, marks a potential escalation beyond military and shipping-related targets. Whether that threat is carried out, or whether it prompts Iran back to the negotiating table, will likely shape the trajectory of the conflict in the near term. The involvement of Jordan, Kuwait, and Bahrain as sites of claimed or confirmed strikes also raises the possibility of the conflict drawing in additional regional actors, particularly if further missiles cross into neighboring airspace or additional facilities are targeted. Finally, financial markets are likely to remain sensitive to every development. With oil already at a one-month high, further escalation, particularly any credible move against the Bab el-Mandeb, could accelerate price increases well beyond current levels. What began as renewed strikes around the Strait of Hormuz has within days expanded into threats against a second critical waterway, new claims of strikes across multiple countries, and a direct threat from the US president against Iranian infrastructure. The fragile June truce now appears to be unraveling in real time, and with oil markets already reacting, the coming days are likely to prove pivotal for the region and for the global economy. We'll continue following this story as it develops. For clear, fact-based coverage of the international events shaping global markets and security, subscribe to Emiscope News and hit like to support independent reporting.